Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Gurureva Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Chinmayam Gyapyat Sarvam, Trilokyam Sacharacharam, Tatpadam Darshitam Yena, Tasmai Shri Gurave. Tvameva Mata cha Pita, Tvameva, Tvameva Bandhuscha Sakha, Tvameva, Tvameva Vidya Dravinam, Tvameva, Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva. Tvameva sarvam mama deva deva. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So I think we start on mantra 4. And again, to catch up where we are, let me get a little more light in here for the video. So to catch us up on what we're discussing right now. In the Vedas, we have the karma kanda section, the ritual portion, and we have the jnana kanda, the knowledge portion. These are seemingly in tension, in conflict. The karma kanda posits that there's an individual who needs to get better, who needs to purify. And there are all sorts of rituals, practices, so that you can fulfill righteous desires in the world. It tells us refrain from bad stuff. Then there's the jnana portion, which thunders the doctrine of ajati. The self is never born. It is witnessing consciousness. And the experience of being an individual, a person, is like a very long and very vivid dream. Way to get out of the dream is Atmavidya, knowledge of yourself. We don't mean just intellectual understanding. We call that paroksha jnana, indirect knowledge, which we get from the teacher, which we get from the scripture. But aparoksha jnana, direct experience, which we get through our own sadhana, through our own investigation into the nature of the self. So this is the topic we're going to discuss. Okay, would you help us out, please, Puneet? Mantra 4.
Aneja dekam manaso jiviyo nainadve vapnu vanpurva marsha tadhavatonya natyeti tishtata tasminna komat vishvat tadhati. The self is the motionless one, swifter than the mind. The Devas' senses could not overtake it. It ran before them. Sitting, it goes faster than those who run after it. By it, my Mata Rishva, the element air, supports the activity of all living beings.
So this is all deliberately obscure mystic symbolism. This is why we cannot effectively study an Upanishad without a guru, or at least a very good commentary. So let's parse each of the ideas in this mantra. The first one,
The self is the motionless one, swifter than the mind.
well, that sounds like a contradiction in terms. How can it be swift and be motionless? What he's talking about is this idea that many of us have that the self is inside me. Well, doesn't Krishna even say that? All this is strung on me like Mani Sutra, like gems on a thread. Well, yeah, he says that, and that's maybe a place to start. The self and me and the self and you is the same. But later on, Krishna says, well, actually, I am not in them. They are in me. So, the easiest way to understand that, the self is like space, everywhere present, subtler than the subtlest. We talked about that. So we have room space and we have cup space. What is the difference between room space and cup space? Is there space in the cup? Yeah. Magic trick. Have I moved space? Did space go anywhere? Was the space over here? Hey, wait a minute, I gotta catch up. Is that what space does? Yes, no? No. Nothing happened to the space. And no matter how fast I move the cup, I don't want to spill my coffee. Space goes nowhere. And yet, no matter how swift the object in space moves, there's still space inside the cup, space inside the room. So your and my equipment, the technical term is upadi. We usually think of it as the body, the mind, where we have feelings, and the intellect. There are many different maps. There's the panchakosha, the food tube, the prana, the mind, the intellect, and the anand, the maya kosha, pure ignorance. Gross body, stula sharira, subtle body, sukshma sharira, causal body, karana sharira, all these different maps. Basically, ways of describing our equipment. So it feels like the self is inside me. I'm Jim, looking out of these eyes, hearing. I'm inside here someplace. It feels like that. But in fact, the equipment is in consciousness. Now, Vedanta becomes very easy to understand if we simply go to the dream state. You are the god of your dream. The process whereby the dream occurs, I call it mini Maya. It's a microcosmic experience. So what happens? I, the waker, I am the uh, Isha Swapna, the Lord of the Dream. Go to bed. Then comes Mini Maya, the veiling power of deep sleep. Then comes the dream. Swapna. And in the dream, I have a dream body. And it feels like I'm in the dream body, peeping out at the dream world. Isn't that our experience? But are you in the dream, or is the dream in you? Are you stuck in the dream? What happens to you, the waker? You're still lying in bed. You haven't gone anywhere. Inside your mind, a whole world has been created. And if you're in the dream and you decided in your dream you are going to get a Maserati and you're driving really fast in your Maserati, you go nowhere. No matter how fast you drive in the dream. So the import of this particular pada, this part of the mantra, is you are consciousness. We have this wonderful term we've been using in Panchadashi, kutastha. You are still, immovable like a mountain. Body, your feelings, your thoughts, and your phenomenal perceptions swirl around like the storms on top of the mountain. But you go nowhere. Well, so what, Jim? It's always completely safe. So the practice that's implied, always when we study a philosophical text in Vedanta, it implies what we call praxis, meaning we're supposed to do something about it. What is the practice? In my meditation, I practice subject-object discrimination. I'm not the body. I'm not the mind. I'm not the thoughts. Introvert the attentive faculty. See if you can notice who is it who sees the thoughts and the space between. Tune up the mind and listen to the rain. Who hears the rain? What hears? Oh, it's just occurring in consciousness. But through your day, something pokes at our ego. See if you can remember to stop. Introvert the attention. Practice what Ramana Maharshi advises. Koham. Who am I? To whom is this upset occurring? To me. Who am I? See if you can find a Howard or a Puneet or a Soundarya. But you find, nope, still nobody there. This feeling that I'm a person comes about very much like the dream does. It's a very vivid imagination in the mind. Next idea.
The Deva's senses could not overtake it. It ran before them.
Yes. So, in much of the poetry of the Vedas, we personify the various devas. Deva comes from the root div, which means to shine. That's interesting because we get English words like divine and divinity and devil all come from the same Sanskrit root, Indo-European. So in the Upanishads, devas have about three possible meanings. Metaphorically, it's mystic symbolism. The presiding principle over the forces of nature, like the wind, the fire, etc. Or here, the presiding principle over the senses. And the third is the presiding principle over some area of human activity. So here, the devas means the senses. So wherever I sense something, consciousness must be there to know what it is I sense. So I don't know if any of you have been watching any of the YouTube videos on what the James Webb Telescope has been finding. Any of you doing that? It's fascinating. This is this new telescope that's way, way out in space, and it's looking so far away. It's seeing galaxies that were formed like 300 or 400 million years after the Big Bang. It goes back 14.5 billion years. That's how long it took the light to get from that galaxy to the James Webb Telescope. You can't see that. Consciousness isn't out there. Of course it is. It's everywhere. However far the senses go, with whatever instruments we have. If it is knowable, it is known by consciousness. Super powerful microscopes, electron microscopes, being able to see the smallest building blocks of nature itself. Super refined sense perception, but it is knowable by consciousness. Consciousness is everywhere. Someone once asked me, Jim, do you think the earth is conscious? And the answer is very simple. Of course it is. There is no place where consciousness is absent. The phenomenal world occurs in. So we know the phenomenal world through the five outer senses. We know the world of feelings through the mind. We know the world of thought through the intellect. But consciousness is there always. So no matter how far away you sense, consciousness is there. Now, the other dimension of this particular part of the mantra. Consciousness is that by which the senses know objects, emotions, and thoughts. But the senses cannot know the self. You cannot see, hear, taste, touch, or smell the self. The self is not a feeling. The self is not a thought. Senses do not reach it. Oh dear. Does that mean the self is unknowable? Some teachings say so. God is the supreme other, unknowable, the great unknown mystery. And there's truth kind of to that. But consciousness pervades the universe. What about you partakes of the nature of the infinite? What is omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent? It's not your body, it's not your feelings, it's not your opinions and thoughts. It's my very experience of I. When are you ever not? And you do not see, hear, taste, touch, smell, emote, or think yourself. Yet you are not unknown. I mean, how do you know it? I don't know. I just know it. That's right. The scriptures call it swayambhu, self-evident. Swayam jyoti, self-effulgent, self-luminous. Not known through the senses, but not unknown. It is not knowable as an object. In meditation, you're never going to be sitting there and all of a sudden, gold white light, oh, that's the self. No. You will not gain the experience of the self. Yet you are always selfing, I-ing. What we do is remove our attention from the knowable objects. What remains? Me. Turn the attentive faculty within. Who are you? In a mind made very quiet. A space between your thoughts. What's there? Not zero, because who are you? It's both shunyata, empty, but just like our Shanti mantra at the beginning, Purna, full. It's full of being. It's full of me. Any thoughts on this? Next, the next thought.
Sitting, it goes faster than those who can run after it.
So, again, this idea, it is still wherever you go to try to find it. Oh, I'm going up to the top of the Himalayas to find it. Wherever you go, there you are. You need travel nowhere. Self, like space. Where am I going to find space? Now, again, this allows us to let go of a doubt. I, Jim, am going to find the self as if it's other than me. And if we start with that notion that the self is other than me, it doesn't work. Who sees the phone? I do. That's yourself. Yeah, but the self is so suffering. No, you're just confused. Investigate. Investigate. The problem is superimposition. The problem is in my mind. I superimpose upon the self all sorts of ideas. The root of it all is I think I'm my body. When in fact, the body is an object of awareness. It's like this. I'm walking down the street with a friend and they're carrying a large clay pot. How are you carrying a clay pot? Shut up. I'm a pot. Leave me alone. No, you're not a pot. You're carrying a pot. No, I'm a pot. No, you're not a pot. You're the person who's carrying the pot. No, and my pot's getting heavy. Oh, it's going to die soon. And then it's got a crack. And, oh, no, you're a pot. Put the pot down. You're not a pot. Yes, I am. I'm a pot. That's how you and I think. I'm my body. I'm getting old and wrinkly. I'm too fat. I'm losing my hair. It's not you. It's the thing you, as it were, carry. Or like your shadow. Oh, I'm so upset. Why are you upset? My shadow fell in the gutter. You're not your shadow. I'm so successful and proud. Why? I had a 30-foot shadow yesterday afternoon. Yeah, you and I got a raise at work. I got a promotion. Everybody thinks I'm smart. That's like being proud of a long shadow. Oh, I'm so unhappy. My shadow was so small yesterday. No. What are you? Sachidananda Rupa. You are the form of pure existence, pure awareness. and no sorrow touches you. Don't believe me. Don't believe the Upanishad. Look. Next idea.
By it, Matarishva, the element air, supports the activity of all living beings.
So, Mata Ishvara, what would be that literally? Mata,
Mata
mother
is
here?
mother and Ishva.
The governing mother, the lordly mother, meaning the prana, the vital air. So the vitality supports everything. So this prana, mata ishvara, is the vital force, which is one of the manifestations of the infinite through the Lord. So the Lord is not energy, but energy is one of the Lord's glories, the Lord's vibhuti. So Mata Ishvara is the vital force, which enlivens everything. So it makes the plants grow, what makes our cells divine. All through nature makes everything vitality. Now, this prana is Mata Ishvara, the great mother of everything.
So here they're using matra as space and not mother. The same thing.
Is that what yours says?
That's what the commentary says.
Is it Mata or Matra?
Matra.
As space, that's fine. That's fine. Is that Shankara's commentary or Swamiji's?
I think it's Swamiji's commentary.
Yeah. It's probably based on Shankara. But mat can also be a measure, can't it?
As matra.
So, but the idea here is you can say it as prana or you can say it as space itself. It supports everything, meaning everything occurs in space. Remember, the style of an Upanishad is maximum meaning with minimum words. There's more than one level, layer of interpretation. No, this is the way it is. No, it's that way. It's deliberately suggested. Now, just riffing on what you said, Santosh, as you and I read scripture and the commentaries, as we get deeper and deeper in our own practice, you'll come around and read the same thing that you did a year ago, 5 years ago. And you'll have new insights as to its meaning. I've been doing Bhagavad Gita over and over for 40 some years. Every time I go through it, it reveals new stuff. All right, next idea. Is that all of that one? Okay, next month.
Taje jati nanai jati tadudure tadantike tadantarasya sarvasya Tadu sarvasya bahyatah. The Atman moves and it moves not. It is far and it is near. It is within all this and it is also outside all this.
So let's take it again, idea by idea. The first one,
The Atman moves and it moves not.
yes. So what we have is this relationless relationship, excuse me, between consciousness and the phenomenal world. In Gita, Vyasa borrows the language of the Sankhya's. He'll call consciousness Purusha, spirit, and he'll call the natural world Prakriti, or nature. Other ways of talking about it, we have Nirguna Brahman, Brahman without qualities, and we have Saguna Brahman, Brahman with qualities, meaning the phenomenal world. So, what our problem is, we've got these two statements. Brahma Satyam Jagan Nitya. Brahman alone is real. The phenomenal world is illusory. And then my favorite saying from Chandogya. Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma. All this Sarvamidam Kalu. Verily is Brahma. Well, make up your mind. Is it all illusion or is it all God? Yes. How do we reconcile it? What is the relationless relationship between consciousness and the world of name? So, close your eyes for a moment and visualize a pumpkin. I'll be you a pumpkin. Now open your eyes. What did you make your pumpkin out of? Did you have to put pumpkin seeds in your ear so that pumpkins would appear in your imagination? Close your eyes again and visualize an elephant. Open your eyes. Did it take more of you to visualize an elephant as opposed to a pumpkin? Now close your eyes and imagine that you're standing on a high plateau overlooking a vast plain with maybe a river running through it. Off in the distance is a range of mountains with snowy peaks. Can you see that in your mind's eye? You actually have the capacity to imagine vast space. And if your river was flowing, movement through space, time. What did you make the pumpkin, the elephant, and the vast vista out of? Is there a second substance? So the stuff of mind, chitta, has the capacity to form into Namarupa, name and form. So was your pumpkin and elephant in the mountains real or imagination? It's imagination. Now, if we dream about a pumpkin or an elephant or a plain and mountain, there's a similarity between our imagination and an important difference. Both the pumpkin of my fantasy and the pumpkin of my dream are just imaginations created by my mind. There's no second substance. But in the dream, I have the precondition of deep sleep. One of the ways we can define deep sleep is the non-apprehension of myself as the waker. And to the dreamer mind, the names and forms in the dream seem real, meaning I'm the dream body and the dream pumpkin is other. So what happens is consciousness inherently has what we call Maya Shakti. It's inherent illusory power. What does that mean? Consciousness has the power to fork into subject, object. Now, those of us who have the great punya merit to experience nirvikalpa samadhi, when the mind returns from samadhi, you will literally see this forking. You will see all of creation emerge from the infinite. You'll see Genesis take place. So this is not just philosophy. It's rooted in the experience of the Mahatmas, the Rishis. And this stuff of mind, chitta, is really nothing other than chit, pure awareness, appearing as this stuff of mind from which the entire world of name and form is made. Consciousness is the material cause of the whole world. Yet, consciousness as nirguna Brahman, Brahman without qualities, never really changes into the world of name and form. It's a seeming. It's as if. In Sanskrit, we have a word eva, which means apparently seeming. Is that correct? Did I?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yep.
Yeah, little eva. Tiny little word which implies so much. Just like the mirror seems to appear as an entire city. You go up to the top of Twin Peaks and you face west and hold the little mirror up and focus it, you can see all of downtown San Francisco. How did they get a whole city inside a mirror? Did the mirror change into the city? I don't see any cable cars in there. No, it's just the nature of the mirror to reflect. Many of you have seen me bring out the crystal ball. If I hold the crystal ball up, it's stone. You can see images inverted inside the crystal ball. I can't cut open the stone and pull out the images. What's the difference between the quartz of the crystal ball and the granite of my little prayer stone? The little prayer stone, it's also stone, but it does not have the property to reflect. The spatika, the crystal, has that property. That is the stone's Maya Shakti. Images appear. So we have Purusha, Prakriti, spirit and matter. They're not really separate. We have Nirguna Brahman, consciousness without qualities. Saguna Brahman, Brahman with qualities, the world of name and form. They're not really separate. It looks like two. I see stuff, but it's Advaita. It's not two. It just looks like. Next idea.
It is far and it is near.
Yes. So, wherever you go, the entire universe exists in space. And yet, it's the most. It is transcendental. The Voyager spacecraft, no matter how far out it goes, it will never reach the end of consciousness. And yet it's right here. It's me, myself. Next idea.
It is within all this and it is also outside all this.
Yes. So it is the self of everything and everyone, but it's also what appears as outside. Again, if we go back to the dream, it seems like I am inside the dream body, and the world of name and form outside in the dream is other, outside. But from the viewpoint of the waker, the dream me inside the dream body and the dream world outside is in me. So I am seeing a world of name and form of what it really is. Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma. All this is nothing but the play of consciousness. So what? Don't worry. Oh, but there's war and there's rape and there's death. Yeah, it sure looks like that. The Lord's giving us a pretty scary movie right now. But that's all it is. A scary movie. What's real? What's Baba? What's being? Change this for you. Next idea.
That's the end.
Okay, next verse or next month.
But you can't. The people that are suffering right now, you can't really tell them this.
No, very good point. We will get to this, but I'll address it right now. Krishna says something that seems very cryptic and weird in Gita. He says, the yogi does not unsettle the minds of the ignorant with the truth. To do so consigns them to a hell. So if you have a dear friend whose mother just died, you don't say, oh, you grieve for whom you should not grieve, though you speak words of wisdom, the wise grieve neither for the living nor the dead. End quote. That's cruel. Because they're not prepared. You have a friend who's got a cancer diagnosis. Oh, don't worry, it's unreal. No, we don't do that. We don't do that. That is why we have the karma kanda section of the Vedas. So, as yogis, we need to be sensitive and intuitive and meet people where they are. And the beauty of the Vedas is there is succor, there is a teaching, there is help, no matter where we are in consciousness. Is that useful?
Mhm.
Those for whom, how does the Buddha put it, whose eyes are only covered with the little dust, they're ready for the highest knowledge. The vast majority of people, it will only confuse them and give them no peace, no help. And it can turn them away from real spirituality. I was talking to a fellow the other day who used to believe in God. And then he decided that because women are being raped in Darfur, there cannot be a loving God who allows that. So now he's an atheist. He's lost his faith because of his limited understanding of God and the relationship. All right, next verse or next mantra.
Yastu sarvani bhutani atmanyevanupashyati sarvabhuteshu chatmanam tato na vijugapyase. He who constantly sees everywhere all existences in the self, and the self in all beings and forms, thereafter shrinks not from anything.
Yes. So we're invited to answer 3 questions. Who am I? What is my essential nature? What is this world? And how has it come about? Who am I? The practice is neti, not iti, not this. I am not the body. I am not the prana. I am not the mind. I am not the intellect. I'm not even ignorance. I am the knower, witnessing consciousness. Second question, what is this world? Ultimate reality is not solid name and form. It's not all the total mind, feelings, and thoughts, what we call Hiranya Dharma, the total mind. It's not even the total vasana, which we call Ishvara. It is consciousness. Well, how did this world of name and form come about? Sankalpena, by means of imagination. So we not only need to do the practice of constantly discriminating between the self and the not self. So we get rooted in the experience, the knowledge. I am that witness. But we need to then work on withdrawing the mind's reactivity from the world of name. This is called vairagya. That desire to give up attachment to all experiences, positive and negative, gained through the senses, keeping the mind deeply introverted. And that desire to give up identification with any form of self, any idea that I'm a person of any kind, staying completely empty as we move through life. What Swamiji used to call it tuning up the mind. Learning to not believe the mind. Learning to not believe my reactions to the world of name and form. So I can see the self in and through all. So the person who has attained to yoga, yoga rudha, yoga arudha, whose mind is completely still, who isn't disturbed, doesn't have vimarsha, deliberation, because of the mind's reactions to the world of name. Then you begin to see the self in all being. This becomes experiential, and the world responds to that person in a different way. The Ramana Maharshi, who saw the self in everyone and every being, wild animals were attracted to him. In the Western world, we have St. Francis of Assisi. He framed it in a language of relationship, brother, son, sister, moon. He referred to his body as brother ass, meaning a donkey. And his final words were, welcome, sister. Not resisting it. Welcome. And as soon as we begin to turn down the volume level on our own resistance and reactivity to life, we begin to see it differently, and the world reacts to us differently. Any thoughts on this? Next idea, did we get them all?
Yeah.
And what verse, what number verse are we on?
This is 6.
Great.
We're going to do 7 next.
Okay.
Yasmin sarvani bhutani atmaiva bhuvi janatah tatra ko mohaka shoka ekatvam anupashyatah. When to the knower all beings have become one in his own self, Atman, how shall he feel deluded thereafter? What grief can there be to him who sees oneness everywhere?
Yes. So, Jim, how should we treat other people? Well, it all depends on whether you're seeing other people or not. If you're seeing other people, you're still in ignorance. By all means, don't be a jerk. Do your best to be kind. Practice nonviolence. You were sitting over there. You were seeing the room from your viewpoint. I'm sitting here seeing the room from my viewpoint. You are aware of your body. I'm aware of my body. You are aware of your thoughts and feelings. I'm aware of my thoughts and feelings. But when you introvert your attention, as it were, look behind your eyes. What's there is nothing but witnessing consciousness. And when I look behind my eyes, there's nothing but witnessing consciousness. The self in you is not like the self in me. The self in you is the self in me. Endeavor to relate to that in your work. See if you can drop your opinions about bodies, about behavior, about people's speech, and instead know that the conscious being looking out of those eyes is the Lord. And again, if we relate to that, if we, as it were, call it out, things appear to change in the world of name. So the yogi moves through life without fear. He or she fears no one, and no one fears them. Now, be aware that destruction is part of the Lord's sankalpa for every form. All bodies die. All stars go supernova. All black holes suck everything into them. Fall dies into winter. Every form is temporary. The being doesn't change. So we give up the false expectation. The names and forms are going to stay the way they are. All right, next verse.
Andatam pravishanti ye vidyamo apasate tato bhuya iva te tamoya u vidyaya. Oh,
Did he skip one?
Yeah.
sorry. Sa paryagacha kramakaya matranam asna vira kanshuddha papa vidham kavir manashi nishi puribuha swayambhu yarthat Yartha Tathya Tothathana Vyadhacha Shvatibhya Samabhya. He, the Atman, is all pervading, bright, bodiless, scatheless, without muscles, pure, unpierced by evils, wise, omniscient, transcendent, and self existing. He alone allotted respective functions, duties to the various eternal creators.
So again, let's parse it. So the first thought,
He, the Atman, is all pervading.
yes. So we've talked about it, that consciousness goes everywhere. Everything is in consciousness, just like your mind pervades the dream. Oh, the car in my dream, that wasn't in my mind. I had to have the car in bed with me. Next idea.
Right.
Right?
Mhm.
Meaning the nature of consciousness is its illuminating nature. So when we think of bright like a light, what does a light do? It illumines the things that it shines on. At night, you can't see anything. In the daytime, the sun is there. It's bright. It shines on things. So here it means that everything is known by means of the self, without which nothing can be known. Gita will use the term kshetranya, the knower of the field, and every kshetra, field. So whatever our field of experience is, the waking state, the dream state, even deep sleep, an altered state, you take ayahuasca. Your field is in the US, it's in India, it's in Palestine. Whatever the field is, the knower of the field is consciousness, which is bright. It's always the illuminator. But what about deep sleep? Actually, you're there illuminating deep sleep. So right now, your eyes are open. You can see. You look around the room, close your eyes. Are you blind? No. You are seeing the back of your eyelids, which occludes your capacity to see the room. In deep sleep, the mind is covered by pure ignorance. But you know it. You can't think, oh, I know it. That happens in the morning when your mind comes back. But I can prove that you're aware in deep sleep. Did I sleep well last night? You do not know because you weren't there. Did you sleep well last night? Yes, that's the very same, Jim. You could tell me about it because you were there to know it. Next idea.
Bodiless.
Bodiless, yes. Many people who are devout in their religion see their God with a form. Oftentimes, the very source of religious warfare. My God's better than your God. It's beating each other up. But these forms of God are just the mask that God is wearing so that we can approach God. Krishna says in Gita, in whatever way people approach me, so am I to them. Is he Krishna? Is he Shiva? Is he Jesus? Is he the Guru, Swamiji, Shirdi Sai Baba? What form does God really have? No form. Bodiless. And you are bodiless. You look at the body of a photo of yourself as a 10-year-old, where'd that body go? When, from our worldly viewpoint, your body falls off and drops dead, you go nowhere. The body is in you, you are not in the body. Next idea.
Scateless.
I don't know what scateless means.
Skate.
Spell it, please.
Scatheless.
Scatheless.
Like without like blemish.
Oh, okay. So there's no afflictions, there's no dirt, there's no blemish, there's no nothing in the self. It is without any forms of any kind, yet it is not non-existent. Next idea.
Without muscles.
Yeah. Meaning here, it is not your human body. The body is an object of awareness. The body is yours. You are not the body. Next idea.
Pure.
It's extremely pure. You don't need to get better. You don't need to be improved. You have no kleshas, no afflictions. You have no doshas, no character defects. You have no papa, no sin. You also don't have any merit either. Vast and empty like the sky. Next idea.
Unpierced by evils.
So the body can do deeds that we think are evil. The mind can think evil thoughts. But none of it ever touches me. Now, what's important about this? At our early stages, it's noon. We'll finish this mantra next week. So, what number are we on?
This is number 8.
Number 8. We're like third idea in it. So we'll end here. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Sri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om. Thank you all.